The impulse to improve a new acquaintance is a recognizable social pattern, abstract. This paper examines a common social phenomenon in which a person meets someone new and quickly evaluates that individual's lifestyle, personality, or habits, concluding that the person should come out of their shell or change aspects of their life in pursuit of greater excitement or fulfillment. While there is no single formal term that captures this dynamic, several informal and psychological concepts help describe it, including the idea of adopting an introvert, the fixer mentality, and the psychological pattern often described as a savior complex. The paper also explores whether such behavior can be understood through archetypal psychology, particularly the Trickster Archetype described by Carl Jung in the field of analytical psychology. By comparing these interpretations, the paper argues that the impulse to reshape another person's life usually reflects projection or rescuer tendencies rather than a true trickster dynamic. The discussion also considers the potential for both growth and regression within such interactions, particularly when individuals are encouraged to revisit behaviors they intentionally left behind. Biblical perspectives are included to highlight spiritual insights regarding personal transformation, the danger of returning to past patterns, and the possibility of growth beyond previous limitations. Human social interactions often involve subtle evaluations of one another's lifestyles and personalities. Occasionally, when meeting someone new, an individual quickly assesses another person's behavior, habits, or demeanor and decides that the person should become more outgoing, adventurous, or socially engaged. This dynamic often manifests when an outgoing individual meets someone who appears quieter or more reserved and then assumes the role of encouraging or pressuring the quieter person to experience life differently. Although this phenomenon is widely recognizable, it does not have a single formal name. Instead, it is described through a collection of informal expressions and psychological interpretations. One of the most common informal descriptions is the phrase, adopting an introvert. In everyday conversation, people sometimes joke that an extroverted friend has adopted them. This phrase humorously describes the situation in which a socially outgoing person takes it upon themselves to guide a quieter individual into more social activities or experiences. While often playful, the phrase still reflects an underlying assumption that the quieter individual requires assistance in becoming more socially active. The implication is that the more extroverted person believes they can improve the other person's life by introducing them to new forms of social engagement or entertainment. Another way to interpret this behavior is through what is commonly described as the fixer mentality. A fixer is someone who quickly identifies perceived deficiencies in another person's life and then attempts to correct or improve them. Individuals with this mindset may genuinely believe they are helping others reach their full potential. However, this approach can also involve subtle control or judgment, as the fixer assumes that their own preferences and experiences represent a better or more fulfilling way to live. Closely related to this mindset is the psychological pattern often called the savior complex. A person exhibiting this tendency feels a strong internal drive to rescue, guide, or improve others, even when such assistance has not been requested. The motivation behind this behavior can vary. In some cases, it stems from genuine compassion and a desire to help others flourish. In other cases, it may be linked to a need for validation, influence, or a sense of purpose derived from helping others change their lives. Regardless of motivation, the dynamic centers on the belief that another person's life requires intervention or improvement. A further explanation involves the concept of lifestyle projection. Although not a formal psychological term, it describes a common social tendency in which individuals assume that what brings them happiness will also bring happiness to others. When someone projects their lifestyle preferences onto another person, they may encourage that person to participate in activities, social patterns, or behaviors that reflect their own personal definition of enjoyment or fulfillment. In everyday language, people often summarize these dynamics with phrases such as, "They're trying to fix me," "They adopted me as their introvert friend," or they've made me their project. Beyond these social interpretations, the behavior can also be examined through the lens of archetypal psychology. Within the framework developed by Carl Jung, archetypes represent universal symbolic patterns that appear in myths, stories, and human behavior. One archetype that may initially seem relevant is the trickster. The trickster figure traditionally disrupts established norms, challenges assumptions, and introduces chaos or humor into structured environments. Mythological figures such as Loki, Hermes, and Coyote exemplify this archetype. Rather than deliberately trying to improve another person's life, the trickster typically destabilizes situations in ways that expose hidden truths or provoke transformation. Because of this, the social dynamic described earlier does not always align neatly with the trickster archetype. A person who intentionally tries to guide another toward a different lifestyle more closely resembles other archetypal roles. One such role is the catalyst, an individual whose presence accelerates change in another person's life. Another is a casual form of the mentor archetype, in which someone assumes the role of guiding another toward perceived growth or improvement. In some cases, the behavior reflects the rescuer archetype, closely associated with the savior complex. The dynamic may begin to resemble a trickster pattern only when the person introduces playful disruption rather than direct instruction. For example, someone who humorously challenges routines, introduces spontaneity, or pushes another person slightly beyond their comfort zone may unintentionally create circumstances that lead to personal reflection or growth. In such cases, the individual acts as a kind of social trickster, provoking change indirectly rather than deliberately attempting to reshape another person's life. However, an important distinction emerges when the behaviors being encouraged involve patterns that the individual intentionally left behind because they were harmful or destructive. If someone encourages a return to those past habits, minimizing their consequences or framing them as harmless fun, the situation shifts away from healthy disruption and toward peer pressure or boundary violation. In this context, the interaction may lead not to growth but to regression. This concern resonates with spiritual teachings that warn against returning to former patterns that hinder personal transformation. In the Bible, believers are reminded that spiritual opposition often attempts to draw people back into their past mistakes or identities. As it is written in 1 Peter 5:8, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." This verse suggests that individuals must remain alert to influences that might lead them away from progress or spiritual growth. At the same time, Christian teaching emphasizes the potential for transformation and forward movement rather than regression. In John 14:12, Jesus tells his followers, "Very truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these." This passage highlights the possibility of growth that transcends past limitations, reinforcing the idea that individuals are not defined by their previous patterns, but by the direction in which they continue to grow. In many cases, interactions with people who attempt to reshape our lifestyles unintentionally test personal boundaries. The true lesson in such situations may not be whether to follow their suggestions, but whether to remain grounded in one's values and self-understanding. Growth may occur not through adopting the behaviors being proposed, but through reinforcing the decisions that led to healthier patterns in the first place. Ultimately, the phenomenon of meeting someone who quickly attempts to improve or redirect one's life can be interpreted through several lenses: social humor, psychological tendencies, archetypal roles, and spiritual reflection. While it may sometimes resemble the disruptive energy associated with the trickster archetype, it more often reflects projection, fixer tendencies, or rescuer dynamics. The most important factor in evaluating these interactions is whether they promote genuine development or pressure individuals to abandon the progress they have already made.